Hi, my name is Challa Prabhu. Welcome everyone. In this session, we will explore layout resizer using Madcap Flare. The goal is to give you a quick yet comprehensive overview of its features, functionality, and capability to help you get started. The objective of a layout resizer is to understand the importance of the toggle layout resizer in Madcap Flare. Use the toggle layout resizer to adjust the workspace efficiently and customize and optimize their workspace for a better authoring experience. For a kind information, Madcap Flare layout resizer is disabled. If you look at the bottom of the Madcap Flare workspace, the layout resizer is here. If I click on it, now currently it is disabled. So if I click on this, you'll see the layout resizer on the top. Introduction to layout resizer. The layout resizer allows you to easily view how your output and text might look for different screen sizes. Here the screen size is the width of the screen, and experience the custom sizes. As you click the controls on the resizing slide bar or enter a breakpoint to alter the width settings, the content in the editor will dynamically respond. So what we are saying here is there is a resizing slider, so you can move so that you can adjust the content in the XML editor. At the same time, you can also set a breakpoint for certain width of the device, so that when you use the responsive web page, whenever the size of the screen is smaller, and the content will automatically get adjusted to the width of the screen. So below, if you see this two images, you'll see one is page layout, and other one is a medium. The mediums and the layout are tightly integrated. When I say layout, it means web layout, tablet, web layout for mobile, and web layout as default. Similarly, when I say medium, on the right you see mobile, print, and tablet. These are mediums. So it is essential that you have to first take care of the medium before you start even working on the project. For example, earlier people what used to do is they used to check the printer before even starting to work on Microsoft Word document, because the output is very important. Where you are going to print the document is very important. Otherwise, what will happen if you forget choosing the printer before you create your document, and when you print the document later, then the whole content will get recomposed, and it will be a very difficult task again. Similarly, when you work on Madcap Flare, as a thumb rule, please select the medium even before you start working on a project. Okay, first decide whether it is for a web layout, for a mobile, or a tablet. So what is the case study for a layout resizer? You have to generate online output for a device with a smaller screen. You want to see how the output might look with a narrower width than what the factory mobile media query breakpoint offers at 767 pixels. One way to do this is to experiment with the width setting on the layout resizer. So the case study is you have to generate online output for a device with a smaller screen. That means there is a predefined breakpoint already set at 767 pixel. Now you have to create an output smaller than that screen. So one way to do this is to experiment with the width settings on the layout resizer. That's why the layout resizer and media query are both correlated. So now we are working on layout resizer so that we can just see the output on the screen itself. So how do you do this? You open the topic in the XML editor. By default, the layout resizer is disabled. I showed you the layout resizer is the bottom of the XML editor. So and then you can click and enable it. It displays at the top of the editor. Once you enable it, the layout resizer is displayed on the top. Now second, notice the default mobile media query breakpoint displays as a small gray. That means the layout resizer shows a gray breakpoint. Breakpoint is is a predefined width of a particular device, which has already been applied. So when you move that, when you look at it, you will see the content actually adjusted according to that particular breakpoint of the particular device. Now I'll show you a small demo now. So if I click at the bottom, you can enable and disable the layout resizer. Now the advantage of using this is you can just create the width of a particular device where you want to output to be displayed. Now here on the right hand side is you can just show what should be the measurement. Okay, whether you want it to be in pixel, points, centimeter, inches. Then this particular text box is a breakpoint. So now this is a thumbnail. Okay, so this thumbnail actually says where you want to position it. Now if I click here, you look at the value what it shows. So the content got adjusted here, and now it is 278 per 4, 278 per 0.48. Either I can go and select this here and set the breakpoint, or come here directly and then type the value here. Now you see the content is changed accordingly to that particular device. So the content has changed its layout because of this resizer. Now how will I use this? What is the purpose of creating this if I can just only see it and cannot use it? So that's why you have this particular thing, add new media query. So when I say add new media query, this particular value of 278.4 will be created as a media query, and will be added to the style sheet. For example, if you are using a style sheet as your primary style sheet, then this particular code will be written there. So even before I talk about this cascading style sheet, let me give a small description about this particular table of contents. Now if you look at the table of contents, you see on the left hand side in the project organizer, you see TOC is primary. So you might be wondering, what is this primary? Okay, what is the real primary? Is basically the actual table of content that you are trying to use in your project. Similarly, when you come to the target, HTML5 is a primary, which means whenever you go and build a particular project, the first build will be for the HTML5 output. So the primary is there. Now the question is, from how can I change it from HTML5 to a meta PDF as a default, or how to change the TOC from TOC primary to TOC meta person. So you have to know that if you in the Madcap Flare, in the Flare application, if you go to project and then come to properties, this is a property setting for your whole project. So under default tab, if you see, you have the primary called TOC. Now if you look on the left hand side of the project organizer, okay, the TOC is primary. Now if I just change this to meta percept and say okay, I'll just okay and come out, so that you keep watching the TOC, it becomes the primary. You see the meta percept becomes the primary now. Similarly, you can change the primary thing. You can say the primary page layout. Okay, we'll be talking about the page layout and then the subsequent presentation. And the branding style sheet, because if you have any brandings associated to your particular project, how the client has really specified those brandings. And then the primary style sheet. We can have n number of style sheet, but you want to assign some style sheet, branding, page layout, and TOC to your current project. Okay, so that you will come to the project properties and set it. Once you set it, you will have that primary in the bracket. But this is a small thing. I'm deviating from the topic, but I want for the for the beginners who are using Madcap Flare to be very clear why that particular primary is there in the bracket. So now we have to create a small screen that is lesser than a 765 pixel. Now you know that layout resizer and media query works on skin. If I go to skin in the project organizer, double click it and come to the setup. Skins. You find the setup, community, styles, and UI. The styles is how do you want the skin component that is assigned to your particular width of the content. Okay, and third thing is these specifications are all the width of this all are specific to the skin component. Okay, I'll just double click on the target HTML thing. I'll come back to skin. If you see at the bottom of the skin, you will see that this is a responsive output overrides the skin. That is, you say tablet breakpoint is 1279 and mobile breakpoint is 757. Now I have created a breakpoint in between. I have created one breakpoint in between this. So what happens is whenever there is when I open the content in that particular device, which is in between the tablet and the mobile, the content will automatically be adjusted because it is responsive. So what do you mean by responsive is, suppose if I have got a responsive table, if I have a two cell table, okay, one row with the two cells or two columns, then what happens is whenever I resize it or whenever I look at this at a smaller device, they get stacked one below the other. Okay, so that's the way it is responsive. It gets a value automatically based on what you have assigned in the layout resizer. So since I have already created 278.4 as a new uh, size or the width of this device, and it is in between the tablet and the other mobile, now I can save this so that I could later on use it in later on view this particular document. So what I do is I come here and add as a media query. That's why I said that there's also a presentation coming on media query. Layout resizer and media query, they go together. Okay, layout resizer is for you to see how the content is getting adjusted based on the breakpoints that you set in the layout resizer, and what is the unit of measurement that you select in the layout resizer. And then once you are clear that this is a layout which you would probably need, then you will come here and start saving it in a media query. So this is a dialog box. Okay, this is a dialog box for media query. Now the question comes is, what is the difference between layout resizer and media query? Now we were talking about a layout resizer, and then we are going and adding it as a media query. So you get a little bit confused about, am I working on layout resizer or I'm working on a media query? The layout resizer is a manual control. So you go and control and see how you want the data to be displayed. If I'm going to have a different device width where I'm going to see the output. So you manually go and adjust it, and then you just save it. Okay, but in the media query, it automatically adjusts the layout based on the device or the screen width. So how does it happen? Because this particular layout resizer, I'm saving it as a media query. So I'm going to save this as a media query, and once I go and save this media query, this will be added. This particular specification of that particular device breakpoint will be added in the style sheet here, where I show content slash resource slash style sheet that style.css, and that detail will be written there, and that will be the last entry in the style sheet. Okay, and that's very important when I say the last entry in the style sheet, because that is something called precedence, which will be later on talking when I'm going to present a slide on a media query. Now here it's okay. Now when I click on this, what happens? I'll be creating a medium. Okay, now I'm entering a media query. So when I go and say okay now, it is going to create a medium. Medium is something like, so when I save that media query, now where will it be displayed now? You have to go to the style sheet. Then if in the style sheet editor, if you just click on the medium, you'll see that I created one called medium and max width at 278. Okay, so this is the medium now. So actually there are three things that you might have noticed. One, I enabled the layout resizer, so it went and I enabled it, so it showed you this layout resizer. Then I set the breakpoint, which I wanted to be the width of the device. Then after finding it useful, I went and I saved it as a media query. Okay, so when I saved it as a media query, it became part of a medium now. Medium means it has become a part of a device. So three things have happened here. So what I will do now is I have to see various devices in one shot. So now what I will do is I can just open various different types of mediums on the screen and see how different mediums. So I can just go to medium and say I want to see this particular thing. One, say let's open this. I can then go and say I want to have a print medium, and maybe I can adjust this and have the third medium. So what does it actually show is the very first medium which I am showing here actually is a default medium. The rest is all gets the values get inherited from the default medium. So if you go to font and then say this, see when I close it, you see all the mediums are closed. When I open the font, all are thing. So now here this is 12 medium, and this is 12, and this is 12. So if I can just go and say that the font size of this should be around 10. Okay. Now if you see this particular medium which I have created will be written in the style sheet now. Okay. I think we can just go and look at the style sheet and see what is written there. We will go and open the text editor. Okay, so I went to the style sheet on the left hand side in the Content Explorer, right clicked it, and I got this particular code. Now if you see at the end of it, you know that this is the media screen that I actually created now. Okay, now since this is at the last, this is at the end of the style sheet, this is going to have precedence over the others. In the sense like if it is going to be 10, the rest is going to be 10. If I for example, if I say that I've got, if I say that this particular font size is going to be 10 of, if I say that I want the font color, so I got a font color here. So if I come here, and it's inheriting from the particular default. If I go and change the color to whichever one I want, I can say I want the font color to be green. You see the color will change to green. So this is the precedence for that particular style. So because it is entered at the end of the, because it is entered at the end of the style sheet, okay, because it has written at the end, now this will take a precedence over the rest of the things. So my sincere advice is, you want to learn about Madcap Flare or anything such as, always see that you learn the standard CSS so that you could have more control on your document. So Madcap Flare has got a CSS, standard CSS, as well as Madcap specific CSS. So it becomes very easy for you to have a full control of this. Even if you don't find some CSS, some style sheets in CSS, you will probably use the Madcap CSS. And then now we saw the difference between layout resizer and media query. Layout resizer provides users with a manual control over the panel sizes. So you saw how I created various breakpoints and then created media query, and then later on I saw how that particular code is being written in the style sheet, and then we are and it is written at the bottom. So that media query will have the precedence over others. You can also use a conditional text because if you come and look at the target editor, you'll see that there is something called a display by media query, web, target and mobile. Because they are there in the conditional text, I am supposed to cover this layout resizer and media query, although it is considered to be an advanced feature. But it is important. For example, if I have a medium which is a laptop, okay, and if I have a tablet and a mobile, although they are all three different connectionless devices, I could choose which one to use what. See, in web I can use click, and tablet and mobile I can use tap. But then so I should have a media query where I have defined such a way that if I have my content for the web, it should be at 13 points, and if it is a responsive web page, then when I view it at a tablet size, then it should be a little bit smaller, like 10, and then also for mobile it should be smaller. But at the same time, I should also take care that the font size is not too less because of the responsive web page. It has to adjust accordingly, and it should be in a position to also apply certain colors to those particular content as and when the content is getting adjusted based on the breakpoints. So that's why I'm covering this particular media query and layout resizers, because they are part of the conditional text in the target editor. So what is the benefit of layout resizer? You might say, okay, why can't I go directly to media query and start working there? But then why not? So in order to work on media query, you need to be familiar with the standard CSS. Okay, so but whereas if you work on layout resizer, you can manually go and adjust it, or you could just enter the value directly in the layout resizer text box and choose various types of unit of measurement, which one you are familiar, you are comfortable with. Some may not be comfortable with a different. Some may not be comfortable with a pixel or point or a centimeter. They may be comfortable in inches. So it is up to them to how they would like to go and start using these measurements also. And similarly, you also have rulers, where you can also have rulers on the top of the layout resizer. So if you have a different styles to display for various mediums or screens, okay, for tablet size or smartphones, the layout resizer is a convenient way to see those style settings without having to generate the output. Okay, normally what happens is so in the XML editor, you can also use the layout resizer to create a new media query in the style sheet based on the position of the layout resizer. So when I went and created a media query or a device in between the two things, 1200, between two layouts, one is web and the other one mobile, it is called as a custom device, which is called a new media query that I created. So don't get confused with the term called a layout resizer and media query. Layout resizer is you go manually and try to define the width of the screen or the device, which is later on considered to be as a medium when you save it as a media query. And the second one is called the media query, because in case if you want to create your own custom device width, and then you want to use it in the style sheet, and based on the responsive behavior of the web or the screen, your font size, the width size, and the tables, responsive tables, behaves accordingly. Okay. So what is the benefit of a layout resizer? As I mentioned before, move the hand cursor along the slider and click any location on the slider that you might want to see as a resized layout for your content. Alternatively, you can type a temporary position in the text box directly. I showed you this, that you can either move the hand and confirm this as the breakpoint, or if you can directly come and type in the value in the text box and make that particular cursor to be the breakpoint automatically. You can also reset the slider. So what happens when you reset the slider? You will not see any of this pixel and these values on the screen. Let me show you the demo. Here you see the layout resizer on the top. This is enabled because I clicked on the layout resizer icon below. Now if I come here and say reset the slider, then what you will see is you will see the layout resizer, but you will never see the breakpoint what is the value of the breakpoint and the what is it, the measurement. Got it? So you only see this. How will you get that value and that particular unit of measurement? You have to just come here and click. When you click on the particular layout resizer, you get this. Okay. Always keep in mind that that this layout that is layout and the medium, both are very much important. They are correlated. Okay. Now if you see, there are two values here because I have selected mobile and tablet. So by looking at this, you know that you know the value gets adjusted accordingly. Or if you come here and say that this is what I want to have, then you can keep on keep on typing till that particular layout size. Okay, so in this particular layout resizer, there are a couple of things that you need to know. One is called as one is called as what is the size of the width that you are going to specify, and what will be the size of it, and what are the type of unit of measurements that you want to show, and which style sheet you want to save, and then what will be the name of the media query. Here I am going to say media query because it is going to take the width, okay, width and the value that I have entered. Okay, so you won't be able to enter the name for any media query, but the media query will enter only the width. So this will show you what is the maximum width. We are going to, that will be the name of the file, and this particular breakpoint, that 1069 will be the breakpoint which is added to it. What will be the unit of measurement? Here it is pixel. I will say inches, and it will change it to inches here. Style sheet, where you want to have this details included in which style sheet. So you may have multiple style sheets with you. And then if you say, okay, this media query, which is currently the new media query or media query that you are seeing, will become the new medium finally. Okay, and that will be displayed under the medium dialog box in the style sheet. That will be later displayed here. Okay, or it will be displayed here. Okay, here you can either add a medium here, or you can add a medium here also. In either case, you will get the same dialog box. So here, if you say media query, you get all this dialog box, and here it is medium. So you can enter the value and say OK. And even if you come here and say you want to add a medium, you get the same dialog box again. This basically, the dialog box is for medium, and the one which you saw in the layout resizer is for media query. So that's some important information about layout resizer is marking a temporary position to see what content might look like does not save the layout. So you need to say it is a new media query. So if you just go to a XML editor and you suddenly want to see how your content looks in various mediums of various width, by choosing that and applying breakpoint doesn't mean that the document will look like that, unless and until you create a new media query and add that particular value. What I mean is by just saying that this is a breakpoint doesn't mean that this will be applicable for you when you save the project. No, because you need to add this as a media query. This value has to go as a part of a media query, and then you should get into the style sheet. So even if you click this as a point, you have to come here and add it as a new media query. So now it knows the value that you have entered. See, now when I clicked here, it is 497.6. So now when I come here and say add media query, the 497.6 will be the screen, and the maximum width is 497.6. Correct. Now when you say okay, this particular width, you can just say whether you want it a pixel or anything. Right? You save this, get saved under the under this style.css. Okay, so that's what it says. That first thing is that. And the second one is from the three vertical drop downs, you can select the reset slider to refresh the slider. I showed you this before. This hides the two thumbs and positions on the unit of measurement boxes. So when you reset, what happens? It all gets resetted, and then you get only the measurement boxes on the position where it is. Third one, the layout mode does not change and the content is not resized. So even if you come and change this medium, if you say that I want to reset this medium, you come and say reset this medium, and you come to the here and say this. It is necessary that you have to go and choose this layout again. Okay, so that to make it very clear. Otherwise, what will happen is you may set this to a tablet or mobile, but then the layout will be somewhere in the print layout. So it is necessary that you have to keep a track of both. So whenever you look at the medium, you have to look into the layout. So they are tightly integrated. So you cannot just say that, okay, I've cleared all the mediums, I've deleted the mediums from there, but the layout should also be taken care of accordingly. So how to add a new media query from the layout resizer? I've told you. If you decide you like the way the output or the text looks after adjusting for different screen sizes and layout, okay, that means if you're happy with the position of that particular points that you have that, so you can create a new custom media query directly from the slider. So you have to open a content file. That means I've in the Madcap player I've opened a content file. Then I moved the hard cursor to a new position on the layout resizer. Then I clicked the button with the three vertical dots in the right side, I said, and then I created a new add new query. A new medium or media query opens up with a logical expression based on the maximum width cursor position layout resizer. You can select different style sheet where the media query gets saved. Notice a new gray rectangle appears on the slide indicating your saved media query and a breakpoint. So here that's what I said, like in case if you are happy with the breakpoint. So how do you add optional is in your style sheet or edit style sheet for the new media query. This is optional, but this is the way we follow. Okay, so I opened the file. Here it is in my name. Then I went and used the finger here and put the breakpoint here. Then I came to the right hand side, selected the add media query. Okay, now I know the name of the thing is the screen and the maximum width to 525. From where did I get the maximum width? I got the maximum width from here. Maximum width from here. And then second, there's a pixel is coming from here. Pixel. And then it's a logical operation. Okay. So naturally. And you can say whether you would like to stay as, whether you want this particular media query to be stored in the style sheet or you do not want to. And then when you say, okay, a media query is saved, media query code at media is saved in the style sheet, and then it gets added to the medium. The new device gets added to the medium. Now here it shows you the new media which has been added to the medium list. Okay, medium, screen and maximum width is 350. That is a media query which has been saved as a medium and gets listed in the style sheet as a medium, one of the medium. Okay, but actual media query code is added in the styles.css. So now if you see on the right hand side I have highlighted because this is a new media query or the medium that I have actually added. So, and now if you see I'm looking at the file color, the font color from the paragraph tag here. So changing this particular color to red, green and blue for various devices. If you choose various colors for various devices, then whenever your content is viewed based on these mediums, the colors will change automatically. So what is layout resizer in Madcap Flare? A layout resizer in Madcap Flare is a feature that allows a user to resize different panels or sections in a responsive output. It enables better usability by allowing the end user to adjust content areas dynamically. So like by adjusting the particular breakpoint, you can actually view the content dynamically in various mediums. Then why do you need a layout resizer? So of course, because if you have a media query, directly could do that. But we also say you need to do something manually, and also you want to have it working through the style sheet. Okay, so now why do you need a layout resizer is because of improved usability. User can adjust the panel for better readability and accessibility. If you have n number of mediums, okay, and if the width size are smaller or larger, the font size should also be in a position to change, and the colors applied on for certain skins should also change, and even the color for the font also should change dynamically based on the layout resizers breakpoints. So that's what we say for readability accessibility. Enhanced navigation in multi-pane layout, users can prioritize the content by resizing specific section. So why do you need this? Because in case if you say that this particular section which I am viewing, for example, tap or a click, if I say that I would like to have the specific content only for that particular medium, which is smaller in width of around 320 pixel, then you can specifically start resizing that particular content for that particular device. Responsive design even ensures that the output adapts to different screen sizes. Correct, because responsive design, if you do not have a responsive design, what will happen then? The image will be truncated. You won't be able to see the full content in that particular browser. For example, if you make the browser smaller, you will not see the content because the content is truncated. But if you tell the content to get adjusted based on the size of the browser, or if you have defined the size of the screen, then responsive design will take care looking into the various media defined in the style sheets. Okay, that means like you by default you have certain media queries defined in the style sheet. Accordingly, your content will be adjusted. And customization allows user to personalize their experience. As I said before, if I want to have if I have some color blindness or any accessibility issue, and you want to just resolve this issue for most of the people for that particular content, you can go and define the various font color. You can font size. You can also say what type of paragraph, what could be the maximum width that you want your content to be supported. You may not give a media query for 2 to 220 pixels, but you want to restrict it in between, say, 300 to 360. So here, if you see in the target editor, I've gone to skin, a tab, and I want trying to show you the responsive output settings. So if you can override the settings, override the skin if you have some other breakpoints in between the table breakpoints and the mobile breakpoints. Or you can also take a decision not to provide any breakpoints after, say, below 767 or above 1279. You could probably decide, you could do that later, even if you find any new devices as various dimensions are coming in the market. So the conclusion here is layout resizer and media query work together. So after going through this layout resizer, I would request you, or probably I would recommend you to go to and watch even media query, because they are correlated. But remember, like layout resizer is more comfortable for technical authors to look into the content based on the mediums they have selected. But remember, not everyone will be using layout resizer and media query. So it's not quite often being used, but you are supposed to understand the CSS. You are supposed to understand the mobile devices. You are supposed to understand responsive web design and how the table works, how you specify the overlays, how you try to override some CSS variables. Okay, so these you also have to know how the precedence takes place. Okay, then finally, if you see, like you want to specify the media query for new devices. This particular media query and layout is a quite common term, even if you have used Adobe product earlier for RoboHelp, because this media query is not new. This has been there for quite a long time, more than a decade. So you not have to worry about it. But see that I recommend that you try to understand the CSS because it's a very vast subject, but will help you create a full control of your uh, project deliverables. Okay, so thank you so much. So thank you so much for watching this. So for more information, contact training at metapercep.com. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and my simple request is please do not hesitate to view the other presentation which is coming on media querying, because this particular, because your conditional formatting that you choose in the text target editor is providing action on the right hand side for display by media query, and therefore it is necessary that you try to understand what that particular options are. Okay, so thank you so much.